I must have 48 wrinkles on my face. I went to Owatonna for kindergarten through 8th grade, and Faribault, Minnesota for 9th and 10th grade. And then we moved to St. Paul. We were a roving family.
Okay.
And my mother died when I was 13.
Piano at home?
We had a piano.
An upright or?
Upright, yeah.
Did you play piano?
No.
He played banjo.
I
played banjo and I played 12-string guitar.
Okay, well, I was close. No, we were marching in a high school parade in southern Minnesota, in Austin, I think it was.
Okay.
And they had, in the part of the parade, they had photographers roaming around and taking interviews with teachers. And I'm glad I didn't play the sousaphone much longer. Okay. That would have been the end of my career. Yes, I was in a grade school band program in Owatonna, Minnesota.
Okay.
And the music man was the teacher, and he inspired everybody to play better than they could play. His name was Harry Winger. Oh, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
But he was a taskmaster too.
We played the French horn because the school had a French horn that was available. And then when we were in senior high school, we lived in the school district that didn't have a French horn, so we petitioned the school board not to go to Central High School because they had
Because they had a horn.
Yeah, horn.
So he lived down near the Capitol.
Yeah.
And he would ride his bike from the Capitol to Central High School with his French horn on the handlebars of his bicycle.
Yeah. I mangled a few horns on riding a bike now.
Did you?
I enrolled at Hamlin University.
Okay.
They had a good music teacher, and a man named Tom Nee was orchestra director. He was a good conductor and a good man. And we stayed there for 4 years playing in the band and orchestra.
But Frank, didn't you start playing then with the Minneapolis Symphony while you were still a student?
I did. I played during when I was about a junior in high school.
Well, I'll tell you something about Danny. Danny Scratch. Remember how Scratch got his name? Scratch was a violinist. And Danny was a trumpet player. So Tetzloff used to say he'd say every time you play that instrument, it's a scratch. So he started calling him Scratch. So Scratch started calling him Flat. So they were.
Other teachers were influential.
Yeah. Did you like other classes? Did you do well in school?
I did well in school. They wouldn't let you become a troublemaker in the smaller towns.
Okay.
And the orchestra. When the orchestra went on tour, you did a few little things.
Oh, we had a few pranks. We had there were 5 horn players in the orchestra back when I joined the orchestra.
Okay.
And we toured a lot, and long tours. The 3rd horn player sat on my right on stage, and he was a questionable character. He wasn't very popular with his colleagues nor his competitors. But and so finally, he was a Frenchman. He wore his beret and his fancy outfit.
Okay.
And when we were on tour, finally I decided to do something about this. So after the afternoon rehearsal, I went to the local store and bought a bottle of Rise shaving cream, foam cream, and I took it on stage with me that night, and I filled the bell of his horn with this Rise cream, and he always came on stage last, so he came on stage last as usual, and the conductor was just about ready to take his first step on stage.
Yeah.
And before that, And Spire picked up his horn and put his hand in the bell, and he got an armful of shaving cream. And he went splat on the floor with the shaving cream.
Did he blow some notes with the shaving cream in there?
I was laughing so loud I don't know. The rookies got lower wage than the vets, and I think the rookie wage was $85 a week. It might have been 90. But after the first year, they gave everybody an automatic raise if they made the cut in the orchestra. It's very competitive. People wanted to play for Metropolis, and Ormondy conducted us oftentimes. The season was 26 weeks. I mostly played with pickup orchestras, whatever I could find. I played shows that travel through town.
Okay.
And
Broadway shows and pop concerts, park concerts on Sunday afternoons.
it was great fun. Oh, played poker. Practiced a little bit.
I hear you're a good poker player.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Sure.
We paid down payment with his poker earnings from the Army.
yeah.
You knew the numbers, you counted the cards, you were good. One of the first memories I have of you is when you walked into a rehearsal, you looked a little bleary-eyed, and I said, "How you doing?" You said, "I've been playing poker all night." You don't remember that, huh?
Wow.
I said, "Why'd you play all night?" And you said, "I was so far behind at midnight, I had to stay in there."
Not necessarily a scientific decision to make, but it worked out okay. I remember.
So 2 years in college, and you married this lovely flute player, and then you went into the military?
I was drafted into the Army.
Into the Army.
Yeah, it was a horrible experience all the way through. There was nothing I liked about the military. It was in the 3rd Army Band in Atlanta, Georgia. It was the General's Band, and they wanted everything just prissy and so. And we had a drum major who had a long baton, and he was a really pompous guy. He would out in front of the band, we'd play on the parade grounds on the Army base, go around and around, and we'd have play so many days a week. And this one day we fell out for formation. The band didn't move, and pretty soon the first sergeant of the unit came out and said, "What's going on here?" And he found out that the drum major couldn't find his baton. And so he couldn't start the band without the baton. And so we didn't start, but the general got us in trouble. I got called in front of him, or as a staff sergeant.
Where was the baton?
It was in my pocket. A financial planner is a division of being a stockbroker, playing golf and building my investment practice.
Yeah.
It was always interesting to me to be in the securities business. I had an older brother, John, who was about 10 years older than I. He was a broker with a firm in Minneapolis. And when I got out of the Army, he called me aside. He said, "You know, you can't make a good living in the music business. You should become an investment counselor or something like that."
You used to go to the office first, right?
Yeah.
And you'd buzz on your mouthpiece, right, on the way
Yeah.
in the car. And then he'd show up just in time for the rehearsal, right?
All right.
And then you go back to the office, didn't you?
Yeah. And Laurel made me a lunch in a bag with a thermos of coffee. And I have that on the seat beside me in the car. And
we saw that thermos in rehearsal a lot too.
Yeah. People remind me that there was one time when I brought a drink on stage. I can now tell the story and not feel guilty. Time is up on
statute of limitations.
Yeah, right. I admit that I had a drink in a glass on the floor on the stage beside me. It was a Sunday afternoon concert and nobody much cared about it.
See, we used to, Zelmer started that when Brunel and I were both had the same birthday. And he said, you guys should bring a drink. You should bring something for everybody to drink. And so we'd had these rehearsals that would be start at 12, and then we'd have an hour break and we'd play the concert at 4. They were always Pops concerts. So in between those two, that rehearsal and the concert, the guys who were having the birthday showed up with a bottle of booze and they poured a drink for everybody.
And every year we played the Nutcracker with a ballet on stage and an orchestra in the pit.
Yeah.
And the final game on Sunday for the championship, and I decided to bring a little portable TV on into the pit at the orchestra.
We played so many Nutcrackers that we really had it memorized. First
Yeah.
So you're playing with him right now?
Oh yeah, no, we're all watching the game. Right?
You're right.
As a matter of fact, I was the committee chairman at that time, and Henry got a little bugged. Henry got bugged. And I said, well, we tried to say, well, Henry, were we playing our parts? And he said, well, yeah, you guys were doing a great job. Well, what's the problem? And I said, if we were playing our parts, you know, it's the playoffs. He said, I didn't mind you guys were watching. There was a couple of guys in the audience that were leaning over and watching the game. All our friends, you know, because they wanted to know. He said, that's what bugged me.
Oh, Minneapolis Symphony was a man named Waldemar Linder was the principal horn player. He was a teacher for most of us.
Oh, so you had studied with him.
I studied with him for a few years. And the associate principal horn player was a German who transferred over from Europe somewhere back there, I don't know when. And his name was Bill Melby. And he taught some of us too. I remember taking a few lessons from him. But most of us, we had one teacher we worked with. We had to pay $5 an hour, maybe.
Well, when we first started dating, he said he wanted to play the first horn in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. I didn't want to live in New York, but I never said anything.
I always wanted to play opera.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I like to play opera.
Did you ever play opera?
I played with the St. Paul Opera three or four summers.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dave is a great inspiration to horn players.
Frank's is a great inspiration to horn players too.
Well,
See them all kind of look at you when we walked into that concert. I'm so happy. And you know, somebody said to me that their student was there. And she wanted to come up and meet you, but she was afraid to meet you because you're so famous.
You
She
really
was
are.
playing in one of them. Yeah.
That all was questionable.
Yeah, I know that. Questionable. Remember we used to play basketball? And he used to have hootenannies over his house, so we'd sit there and play guitars and sing songs. It was well, I didn't know the rules or anything, and he just kind of said, maybe I ought not to do that, like when I talk back to a conductor or
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that, you know. He just was kind to me when I needed direction. He's always been my friend. And
Well,
you were that way with everybody. I remember you had to speak to Kendall a couple of times, and you just did that with a great deal of kindness. And your place, she came in when you retired from second. Then she played. She won the second position. We used to go over to Bill Lynn's basement.
Oh yeah.
Mainly, there was a lot of scotch.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
We
sense.
didn't really call it the Horn Club.
No, that's what
Bunch
it
of
was.
guys
That's
that
the
got
beginning of the Horn Club.
It got a little looser then. Oh, he was an amateur.
He was a businessman.
Yeah.
And he had a nice house, and he had He was an enthusiast, so he would go into his basement.
Oh, it's a camaraderie of people, of horn players that they didn't all play perfectly, but they loved the horn.
This is a serious golfer. So everything else was in support of what really mattered, right? A good
Right.
golf game.
Right. Practice, practice, and play as much as possible. Play everywhere, anywhere.